Ghostwire Tokyo is a really pretty game, with a gorgeous take on post-apocalyptic Tokyo combined with flashy animations and effects. It's a graphical showcase that should be fun to play while also being pleasing to the eyes. Unfortunately, as someone who is very sensitive to input lag, when I booted it up for the first time, I was sort of disappointed on how it felt to play. So if you're sensitive to shifting frame rates and input lag, let's break down how to make Ghostwire Tokyo a much smoother supernatural adventure. First off, if you're not familiar with input lag, it's essentially the time it takes for controller inputs to happen on screen. Like most people, I want my character to respond immediately when I hit a button. I know, crazy, right? So what's up with Ghostwire Tokyo? Well, to put it lightly, its default settings feel slow. Like, really slow. But I've tinkered with it a lot, and I feel like I've found the best settings for smooth, lag-free gameplay. First off, something you should know. In your PS5 video settings, there's an option to enable 120Hz output if you have a monitor or TV that supports it. Usually, most people keep this set to automatic. That way, if a game you're playing supports it, rare as they are, you'll be able to play at even higher frame rates. What's weird about Ghostwire Tokyo is, if you have this setting on automatic, when you launch the game, it'll drop your resolution down to 1080p. It doesn't matter if your PS5 is set to 4K, and it also doesn't matter what graphic options you select in the game itself. If your 120Hz output is set to automatic, you'll be playing at 1080p, whether you like it or not. The thing is, a lot of TVs don't support 120Hz. If you're playing on a 144Hz plus gaming monitor, you're good to go, but your everyday Target bought TV is more than likely a 4K display that runs at 60Hz. The box your TV came in might say it has 120Hz smooth motion, but this isn't really 120Hz. It's that simulated setting you have to turn off so your Blu-rays don't look like a daytime soap opera. So check the manufacturer's website to see if your TV actually supports 120Hz. If it doesn't, then click this option off, since you're not seeing its benefits and you're losing out on the 4K visuals. So let's jump to the game and see what we can do here. The default visual settings are set to quality, which caps the game at 30 FPS. Visually, it looks fine, but it doesn't feel that great to me. So if you're looking for a smoother gameplay experience that both looks smoother and feels better, then here's what you need to tweak. First off, Ghostwire Tokyo has 6 graphics options. I'm just gonna say it, that's way too many for a console game, but hey, I guess the case can be made that an overabundance of choice is always a good thing. If you're looking for a visually smooth experience, you're going to want to select either HFR, that's high frame rate mode, performance mode, or HFR performance mode with VSync enabled. The difference here harks back to the 120Hz option. If you play high frame rate performance without VSync enabled, you're likely to see some screen tearing because the game is now running at a higher frame rate than your TV can display. But even so, this is the option that feels the best, for me anyways. And if you have a 120Hz display, there's not going to be any screen tearing. If you don't mind just a tad of input lag and you want screen tearing completely gone, pop over to high frame rate performance VSync mode, which will then cap the frame rate to 60 FPS. Again, it'll add a tiny bit of input lag, but it's manageable and will likely become less apparent the longer you play. So HFR performance mode fixes the visual choppiness, but you'll probably still notice it doesn't feel that great to aim. That's because of aim acceleration, which we're going to do something about. To be honest, I'm not sure why this has become a recent trend. The first time I noticed it was in Cyberpunk 2077, and what's basically happening is, when you move the stick to aim, it's slow to respond, but ramps up the longer you hold it. I'm sorry, but why would anybody want their aim to feel delayed? Sure, one could say having lower inner dead zone movement allows for more precision aiming when not aiming down sights, but I hardly find that to be a worthy trade-off. I would personally never trade making my entire experience feel laggy in favor of slightly more precise aiming when not aiming down sights. So let's fix it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna crank the camera acceleration all the way to the max. This is gonna give you a more responsive feel, but because there's no more ramping up, the sensitivity is probably going to feel really slow. This is more on how sensitive you like your aiming to be, but my sweet spot was 35 for both X and Y axis. And just like aim acceleration, the deceleration also needs to be turned all the way up. This is essentially making it where the moment you move your stick, it starts moving, and the moment you stop moving your stick, it also stops. You know, the way it should be. And that's it, you should now be experiencing a much smoother and satisfying way to play Ghostwire Tokyo on PS5. Now I get it, not everyone is sensitive to stuff like this, so the default settings may be totally fine for you, or you're playing on a PC where issues like this are a bit less prevalent. But if you struggle with console input lag like me, then hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, make sure to sound off in the comments below, and of course for more on Ghostwire Tokyo, stick with IGN.